Shalom, shalom. Giving honor and praise to the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation, brothers and sisters, we intend for it not to be long. Nonetheless, brothers and sisters, we intend to bring this out to the people for clarity and for edification purposes. We ask you all, brothers and sisters, to get your pens, your pads, your paper, and to take notes. If I can be heard, and if people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. If I can be heard, and people are in good spirits, please, I ask you to type in the number 4. All right. Thank you, my love Sarai, regarding that particular matter. What we're going to do, brothers and sisters, is go over Hebrew and history. In this particular one, we're going to ask you to have your scriptures with you because we're going to be reading out of the scriptures. All right. So, brothers and sisters, without any further ado, let us pull up the PowerPoint in this particular matter. All right. Screen share. Pull this up here in this case. And we're going to, brothers and sisters, get into this. All right. Shabbat Shalom, Yirmiyahu Yisrael, and Shabbat Shalom, Sarah Michaela, my lady. Thank you for that. And let us, brothers and sisters, get into this for edification purposes. All right. We're going to start with the matter of slideshow. Shalom, giving honor to the Most High. This presentation is brought to you all from Danite Publications, namely danitepublications.com. In this presentation, we will discuss commonly used Hebrew words, verbs, and the appropriate pronouns for them in use. We then will go over history and use maps and scriptures as a reference. Please subscribe to the channel. So, brothers and sisters, all right, with the time allotted, let us get into this for edification purposes. Again, I'm asking because I can't hear myself. If I can be heard and if people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. If I can be heard and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. Thank you for that, Sarah. Let us translate the words. All right. We're going to use here, all right, the laser pointer. And we're going to start on the left-hand side of such. And you will see that it says Ose, Roe, Rotze, Pone, Hofwe, Noshe, Bone. So as you might been able to see on the left-hand side, it was O-E, 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 all the way down and through. And what we're going to do, brothers and sisters, and while we ask people to get their pens and their pads and take notes concerning this kind of matter, let us translate this in real time, as the saying goes. All right. In that particular case, we have here ose, meaning doing or making. We have here roe, means seeing. We have here roxe, meaning wanting or wants. All right. And we have here pone, which means turning. We have here hopwe, meaning being or existing. We have here noche, which means forgetting. And we have here bone, forgets, okay, in that present tense word. And then we have here building or builds. So let's look at that. So all of these we might be able to want to look and see, brothers and sisters, that it is all inside of the present tense. So if we go back here, brothers and sisters, from this slide, looking upon it like that, right? And if we pull up the laser pointer, we have here ose, doing or making, roe, seeing, roze, wanting or wants, pone, turning, hope, being or existing, noshe, forgetting or forgets, bone, building or builds. So on the left hand side there that you see that is translated, right? All of that there is what? A matter of it in the present tense, masculine singular. So I'm going to type this inside of the room, masculine singular, right? And PT in this case stands for present tense. All right. Now, are there any questions or comments concerning what we went over in this side here? Please let me know. If there are any questions or comments concerning what we went over here on this side, please let me know. All right. Now, let us, brothers and sisters, in real time, if we will, family, look at the right hand side and translate. We have here the word kosheb, which means thinking or thinks. We have the word here okel, and people who know me might laugh at why I chose that. Eating or eats. Somebody I remember, no disrespect intended, when I was a child, and the congregation will be preparing to clean for the Feast of Unleavened Bread. One of the common jokes was, give it to, and they even said my government name, give it to him. I'm like 8, 9 years old. He'll eat anything. No, I don't eat anything. But LOL. But what I do mean is that when I was a child and we will be doing cleaning for the Feast of Unleavened Bread, one of the responsibilities, not being funny, that I had was to eat the leavening beforehand. And then after that, I'm going to take the liberty to give her a shout out. Ima Baalia, Gavret Baalia, a very good friend of my mother. May the Most High continue to bless her life. After I was given the responsibility to eat the food that had leaven in it, here's the pond. Now go clean the bathroom because I know you got energy. And that's concentrated, so make sure you don't use it all. It was, besides my mother, Gavret Baalia, and another person named Gavret Sadiqwa, may they both be blessed in their lives, that was responsible for making sure I had detailed duty and so forth. And I give those ladies much respect in Israel. One old enough to be my mother, and actually both are in giving honor and respect in that case. We have here the next word, all right? Mokir, getting back to the lesson. Mokir means selling or sells. We have here the next word. Let's go in, Israel. We have the next word here, lomed, which means studying or studies. Now, I want to emphasize this, if we will, right? Studies. This is not the word that you would use in saying one studies, his studies or her studies or their studies. This is just a verb. If you were to say the studies of a person, you would say limudeha, her studies, limudaiwa, his studies. All right, that's that word. We're only dealing in this case here with verbs in the present tense, masculine singular. All right, we have the word here notain, which means giving or gives. We have the word here loquate, that means pluck, or now pluck means to sit there and take up out the ground, not plucking like you plucking somebody. That's what we want to point out in that particular case. All right. And it can otherwise mean take. All right. So we have the word here, shomer, which means, does anybody know what shomer means? Shalom, Thomas Miller. Shalom, Yirmiyahu Yisrael. Shalom, Ish Emuna. And shalom, of course, to my lady Sarai. Does anybody here know what the word shomer means? This last word that we're dealing with. When we go back here, brothers and sisters, to the current slide, what's that last word there meaning on the side there? Anybody in translation? Please, if you know, type it in. I want to, of course, give due honor and respect to the Most High, getting into this kind of presentation, and so forth and so on. What does the word shomer mean? You might see, no disrespect intended, a lot of Jewish people saying shomer Shabbat. That's not incorrect. But what we want to ask is, what does the word shomer mean? All right. Now, I'm going to leave that one there blank, and I'm going to type it inside of the room. Shomer means, all right. And let's look at it in that case. Let's exit that out. Let us create with a matter here, going to the home side of it, right? And new slide. We're going to pull up, brothers and sisters, this, right? And we have ani. Now, copy, going back here, if we will, and pulling it back up, because we want to show things in real time as much as possible. All right. That's why I did it in that particular case. Now, what does this word here mean? Anybody? We're going to enlarge this, if we will, as well. And family. All right. Let us go back to the slideshow from this part here. What does this word here mean? Ani. Anybody? Ani means what? Now, mind you, a male or a female can say that. But what I am asking is, what does ani mean? And the brother who I'm selected, hopefully in good faith, if it wasn't a problem, I was made a matter of being a moderator in a particular channel. All right. So let's look. I. That is what ani means. Ani means I, brothers and sisters. So now let's look. That meaning I or I am, right? In that particular case. So one can use that word in these verbs, by the way. So one would say ani ose, ani roe, and what we're going to do is show it with the laser pointer, right? Ani ose, ani roe, ani roze, ani pone, ani hohwe, ani noshe, ani bone. Now, we want to emphasize that we're dealing with these verbs that you see here, masculine, singular, okay? As we want to point out in that particular case. And in light of such, let's look. I am doing, ani ose. Ani roe, I see or I am seeing. Ani rotse, I want, or, and that's exactly what that means. I want, sorry. Pone, I am turning. Ani pone hakanaf, I am turning the corner. Ani hokwe, I am existing. Ani noshe, I forget or I am forgetting. Ani bone, I am building. Ani bone ha binyan. The word binyan means building. All right. So again, that's something, brothers and sisters, we want to point out for edification purposes, if we will. All right. Now, going to ask again, family, what does, and I'm going to highlight this word here that we see, right? What does this word here mean? This word here, shomer, mean? Let's look, if we will, brothers and sisters, all right? And we're going to go back, say to this here, right? We're trying to show everything in real time as much as possible. And let's go here, if we will, right? Shomer. And in translation of the word shomer, there is translated as, you see, God. Now, what can we gather from that? If, brothers and sisters, let's pull this back up with the time allotted, right? Thank you for that. Let's go from current slide. Shomer, that means watching, guarding, or observing. And, brothers and sisters, if that is the translation for such, what we want to point out for reasonable purposes, as I sit there and put the charge in that's holding the phone up, is one can say they are guarding, watching, or observing hamar the show. So this pronoun that we're seeing right here, the word ani, meaning I, can be used with all of these words here. So let us, brothers and sisters, in this case here, now translate this word here. God being or watching in this particular case. So now we have what? These 14 verbs that, in knowing and knowledge of such, one is able to sit there and ascertain a lot of knowledge. Are there any questions? I'm going to just using the word ani because we're not going to deal with the other pronouns that go along with it because we want to go step by step by step. History in Hebrew, part 1, for the day of rest. We don't want to overload the matter. You understand, brothers and sisters? All right? So let us look at it in that particular case. Any questions? Please feel free to type it in. I can also be reached at my number 908 587 4841. 908 587 4841. All right. Now, we see here, Ani. Let's look at this here with the laser pointer. Ani Koshab, I am thinking. Ani Okel, I am eating. Ani Mokir, I am selling. Ani Lomaid, I am studying. Ani Notain, I am given. Ani Loquate, I am plucking or taking. Ani Shomer, I am guarding or watching. So, brothers and sisters, we are learning a lot of matter regarding the Hebrew in this case. So, let me, brothers and sisters, go over this particular case here. Ani means I or I am. All right? Because am by itself doesn't have a set word in Hebrew. All right? So let's get some more notes concerning this. This can be used by male or female. There is no age stipulation on such. All right. So these are things that we want to point out, brothers and sisters, regarding the language. So a woman can also say ani, but she would not say, brothers and sisters, right? The matter with these verbs here, such as ose or osa, and so forth and so on, right? So, are there any questions or comments concerning this so far? Any questions or comments concerning this so far? I want to give sidebar on a human level much due respect to my lady Sarai, because you might see, no disrespect intended, a thermos, because she used to tell me off camera, brother, stop putting the picture to your mouth, going gunk, 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 and so forth. It doesn't look right to the people. Look more professional. So I'm open to rebuke and constructive criticism. So if anybody has such for me, brothers and sisters, reach out to me at 908 587 4841. All right. So now let us look at this on the right hand side, if we will, and from current slide. Now remember what we just did here with Ani. We can use Ani, brothers and sisters, still in that particular case on the right hand side. So it would be using the laser pointer for clarity purposes. Ani Hosheb, Ani Okel, Ani Moker, Ani Lomaid, Ani Notain, Ani Loquate, Ani Shomer. Now, a female would not use the word speaking of herself on the right hand side. Just quick sidebar. She would say, instead of Ani Kosheb, she would say Ani Koshebet. Instead of Ani Okel, she would say Ani Okelet. Instead of Ani Moker, she would say Ani Mokeret. So now, following that pattern, O E, O E, O E, to O Et, O Et, O Et. If it's low made, then we following in that same pattern will be, she would say Lomedet, no tenet, lo quicket, and shomeret. That's how that will go in that case. Nonetheless, what we're dealing with and going over in this particular case, brothers and sisters, is the masculine singular. All right. Now, we've gone over the masculine singular. So, what we're going to do, brothers and sisters, showing this in real time as much as possible, right, is go here, go to new slide, if we will. Go over here and copy. Go here. Paste. I am aware that the word ose is not there. I'm going to make sure that's put in as we move on. Because what we want to show for Hebrew is to be able to speak it, not just read it, family. All right? And what we see here in this particular case. Now let's look. All right, if I can get it over here, that may help too. Yep, it worked. Cool. So I'm going to delete it on this side. And we're going to change the layout for reasonable purposes and have it like this. Now, what are we doing in this case, brothers and sisters? Right? Is I wanted to set it up this way on purpose because these are commonly used words. So if you were speaking in a matter of masculine, you would say the Hebrew transliteration would be ose. Kind of sound African to some, huh? And if you're saying it for feminine, it's osa. That definitely sounds African to some. Okay? You will have ro e, or you would have ro ah. You would have ro ze or ro za. You have po ne or po na. You would have ho we or ho wa. Now, ho wa too also means destruction, but that's not the word we want to focus on. You would have no she or no sha. You would have bo ne or bo na. Now, let's go back, brothers and sisters, to slide show from current slide. Going to be focused on. Shalom Ima Mora Bat Sheba for joining on. Remember, Ani is the pronoun that we're going to be focused on. I or I am, used by a male or female. There is no age stipulation on such. So, with that being the case, let us color code what we're talking about. Brothers and sisters, all right? We have here the highlighter. Ose. We have what? Roe. We have what? Rotse. We have what? Pone. We have what? Howe. We have what? Noshe. And we have what? Bone. Everything you see there in the yellow is the masculine form. Now, everything, brothers and sisters, that we're going to show with the pen and circle is the feminine. Because I want to show this again in live time as much as possible. All right. So you have osa, ro'a, rotsa. Let's stop right there. So females, mothers, nieces, aunts, grandmothers, daughters, anybody else of the born with the XX chromosome. We have Ani, right? And in here you have Osa. So how would you say I am doing or I am making if you are a female? Ani Osa. How would you say I see? Ani Ro'a. How would you say I want? Ani Rotsa. See, when we talk about Hebrew being easy, as we do, not trying to play salesman on the Sabbath, but when we start talking about brothers and sisters, Hebrew is easy. Brothers and sisters, this is what we're talking about. See how easy that was? You don't sat there and looked at a whole sentence. And if I want to say this, learning Hebrew, learn the vocabulary you use all the time. I'm not going to get too personal, but if you're a brother or a sister, and I know certainly in other states outside of New York, they big on going to that gun range. The word for a gun is the word ekdak. It comes from the word dakwak, which means to sparkle. So ekdak literally means I will cause a spark. That's translated as gun because there were no guns in ancient Israel, so they used the word meaning to spark or verb meaning to spark. The word for bullet is qualia. Now, I'm not condoning violence, but as we know in the Bible, when it starts talking about thy shield and thy bow and thy arrow, these are weapons. You understand? So if you're into food, the word for food is what? Anybody. Type in the word for food. How you say food in Hebrew? Anybody? For edification purposes. All right? Because I have friends, I have cousins that go to the gunshot range. It was like, you need to come back south. We're going to teach you how to shoot. And what they got at me, because I was like, I don't know about all that. And my cousin said something. He's not in this understanding of this way of life, but he said something that hit me. See, that's why you gotta be teachable. You believe in the Bible? I said, yes, and I'm Old Testament based, but I knew what the man was coming from. So David killed Goliath. I said, yes, he did. With what? The weapon of his day. If there were Glock 9s, you best believe that would have been used. And I had to just sit back like, wow, that's truth. So while not condoning violence, we do know that the body has weapons. That's what white blood cells are, made in your bone marrow. Your bone marrow is how they can tell your DNA even after your death. So having a defense like the cat has the defense with its nails, and the dog has a defense with its teeth, and everything has its own defense. So there's nothing wrong with that manner. Yes, thank you, my lady Sarai, for typing in the word for food. Okel. So now let's look. Ani osa mazon. It's how a woman would say, I am making food. Ani ro'a mazon. I see food. Now we're not talking kasilon, which is shrimp. We're not talking the shakwazim, which is the detestable thing Leviticus 11 talks about. When we say seafood, we talk about one sea food, all right? LOL, little joke on the side. All right? Ani rotsa mazon. It's how a female would say, a grown woman or a girl, I want food. So the question will come back as, Ma at rotsa le'ekol. What do you want to eat? Ma, what? At, if you remember the previous lessons, at means you or you are feminine singular. Rotsa, that word doesn't drop because that word means want. Le'ekol, to eat. What do you want to eat? Karik, sandwich. Yorukwa, vegetable. I know I'm going to hear that. Like, oh, I got that word now for vegetable. Orez, rice. Tapuak, apple. Pari, fruit. Priot, fruits. So these are things, brothers and sisters, we want to point out for edification purposes. Now, it's interesting, the word for a vegetable in Hebrew comes from its root word for green. Vegetables are green in most cases. Brothers and sisters, ancient Israel had a particular diet. And though I, on my channel, do not promote vegetarianism, if we will, for ancient Israel to have certain days where they were eating meat shows you that eating meat was not common. Just the same. For the daughters of Zelophehad to wonder who to marry, and then they're told to marry their father's brother's sons, shows you that cross-cousin marriages, though permitted, was not common in Israel. Otherwise, they would have just been like, oh, this is what we do. We marry our first cousins. That is permissible in Israel, but it's not a common thing. Eating meat is permissible, but it's not to be a common thing. You are told to eat meat on particular holy days, which goes to show that if you're told to do it at a particular time, it was not its custom. You don't have to be told to eat vegetables. That was already the diet that was given. No disrespect intended. All right. So just want to point that out for reference purposes. Any questions or comments, please feel free to type it into the chat. And to the people who give me constructive criticism, my lady, as well as Rabbi Sheba online, and anybody else, I definitely appreciate it. All right. If I can be heard and the people in good spirits, please type in the number 4. If I can be heard and people in good spirits, please type in the number 4. Thank you, my love Sarai, for such. Now, let's look. We have here, all right, with the pen, we have Pona, right? Hoa, Nosha, and Bona. All right? This is what we want to point out for reference purposes, if we will. What you see there, brothers and sisters, thank you everybody who typed in the number 4. right? Erase the yellow, erase the yellow. And why do I want to emphasize at this point on the feminine matter? Is because a lot of brothers in Israel don't know the feminine matter. A lot of sisters in Israel, and there's no disrespect intended, don't know the feminine matter. But Hebrew, as the late Mordeh Mishael presented, may he rest in peace, is that Hebrew is the language of gender. And since it is the language agenda, before we conclude this portion out, because this is going to be two presentations, one with the Hebrew and the other with the history. So we're going to end this out and then get later on, subscribe to the channel, click like if you will. We appreciate that. Share it. And then at 4 or 5 p.m., we're going to do the history one. We're not going to do the history in the Hebrew in one particular timing with people's attention span. And I know what that is because I know my attention span. All right, so let's look, right? We have here that same word, ani, right? And here we see osa, ro'a, rotza, pona, howa, nosha, bona. So let me, brothers and sisters, clarify it, if we will, this way. What I'm going to do, brothers and sisters, is we have here bold. Here, if we will, bold. Here we have bold. Here we have bold. And here we have bold. And here we have, as we begin to close out, thank you for the time. Subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share, please. Bold. And then we're going to take this word here, ani, copy, go back over here to show it as much in real time as possible, and paste that word ani right there. Then we're going to go here from current slide and do it this way. Let's look. Ani that you see there on the top means I or I am. Every bold word is the feminine. So you would say, as a female, I as Ani, or a male as Ani. However, in this case, we bold part the matter of the feminine form of these verbs here: doing, seeing, wanting, turning, being, forgetting, or forget, and building. So one would say, as a female, Ani osa, Ani ro'a, Ani rotsa, Ani pona, Ani hopa, Ani nosha, Ani bona. A male would say ani ose, ani roe, ani rotse, ani pone, ani howe, ani noshe, ani bone. Any questions? Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. We call this one Hebrew in History for the Day of Rest, Part 1. This is a series that we're going to be doing on Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom, or Shabbat Sas, Sas meaning happy. You understand, to the house of Israel. We ask you all to comment, to like, and to share. All right. So these verbs again are in the present tense, and you can take your vocabulary that you've been learning or building or have a question of, and then you can say it for doing, seeing, wanting, turning, being, forgetting, or building. A woman can say to a man, I need bone otka, I am building you. I need bone oto, I am building him. Oh, no, she would say I need bona, sorry, stand corrected. So again, brothers and sisters, as we close out this particular matter of part 1 with the Hebrew matter, we asking you all, we're going to break, if we will. Not that we're inside of a camp. You understand, as many people talk about breaking in the camp. But we're going to break, brothers and sisters. And we're going to come back at 5 p.m. Let's do that. All right. At 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we're going to come back and we're going to continue in this case, but in the history. Again, I can be reached, brothers and sisters, if we will. All right, closing this part out. I can be reached at 908 587 4841. I want to say this here in closing out, brothers and sisters. When we start talking about Howe, or in its feminine being Hoa, if you will, you know what we are to be? I get messages about my presentations from people in Europe, from people in Ghana, from brothers and sisters, people in different parts of the world. And in that particular case, when you are committed to something, when you are about something, don't do that which is incorrect. Word to the wise, as the saying goes, is sufficient. So, brothers and sisters, giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. Shalom, my lady Sarai. Shalom, Thomas Miller. Shalom, Yirmiyahu Yisrael. Shalom, Mora Batsheba. Shalom, Ish Emuna, and anybody else, brothers and sisters, that's currently or will hear this later. Subscribe to the channel. It is now going on 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to come back, brothers and sisters. The intention is for 5 p.m. to continue in the history. All right. Giving honor and praise unto the Creator of heaven and earth. Shalom.